Hello and welcome to the Gooner Tool, back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our tactical breakdown series, the show in which we look at the players that being linked to Arsenal could be seeing join the Gunners this summer and get the thoughts and insight of an expert, as well as the additional statistical analysis, which you seem to enjoy every single episode. We know that because of the fantastic replies that we get to every video that we do over here, and we're obviously very grateful for that. Speaking of which, please make sure you drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, and sit back and enjoy today's episode, which covers Adrien Rabiot, the Juventus French centre midfielder that has been linked to Arsenal to what seems to be forever, from his time at PSG as a youngster, moving into the first team. When his contract was running out, it seemed that Arsenal could go in there and pinch him, but it was Juventus where he eventually ended up, and it hasn't gone too well since arriving there, as we'll hear about in just a second, and that has then led to Arteta looking at Rabiot as maybe someone that we could sign. Now, before we jump into the video, please make sure you're dropping in the comment section below and giving your thoughts, because I love reading through your replies and seeing what you guys think. But let's jump into the video as we talk to Rich Hall. Rich Hall is the chief correspondent from Football Italia, as well as the creator of the Gentleman Ultra, which is a fantastic, if you're a big fan of like Serie A and Italian stuff, this site is brilliant. It runs like podcasts, it runs articles. So I'll leave a link in the description for that. Please do make sure you go and check it out. But Rich is here to tell us everything about Adrien Rabiot and some of the stuff about what's gone wrong since his move to Italy.
So lots of reports today in the Italian press, obviously, about Adrien Rabiot, which is someone who obviously Arsenal are very interested in at the moment. But it's also he's also been linked with the likes of Chelsea, as we can see in Gazzetta today, and also L'Équipe links him very heavily to Everton, which is a bit of a surprise because obviously the amount of his wages that it would cost, he's on a substantial amount at Juventus. It would be potentially a shock if Everton actually did go and spend the money for that, even though we obviously know they have the backing for that. So L'Équipe especially have been mentioning the likes of Manchester United, Arsenal of course, and Chelsea, all looking to be in with his signature. Now, just going back to that, it looks as though he's around 7.5 million after tax, which is quite, as I said before, a substantial amount. So, what are you getting for your money? I think that's the biggest question. Now, Adrien Rabiot, while he's an exceptionally talented midfielder, very physical, superb passing range, very much a box-to-box player, can break up the attack, can also very well start the attack. The question is about the temperament. Now, when we look here and we look into the Gazzetta, because it does feature quite a lot here, he's been ousted from Juve really ever since his poor performance on the 26th of February against Lyon, it says here. Quite interesting that they took that much, but it's almost a bit of an attitude issue. Now, it's quite strange really, because he was recommended to Juventus by Gigi Buffon when he was at Paris Saint-Germain. So obviously Buffon, being the professional he is, saw something in him, obviously the talent, but he was always, as you probably already know, in quite a lot of trouble at Paris Saint-Germain for the attitude and some of his performances and professionalism. But still, he's come across to Juve. Now this season he's only made 24 appearances, hasn't netted a single goal, or an assist actually as well. So the performances this season that I've seen in Serie A have been a player who's obviously does have that potential, can really potentially be as good as maybe Marco Verratti, a very different player, but a player who, for me, really can control the game. He just doesn't seem to have the discipline or thought process in some respects. There was talk as well that there was going to be somewhat a bit of an issue here, because for two reasons, and this is for Arsenal signing him. One is the heavy link now all of a sudden that's come up in Tuttosport today about his potential move to Barcelona. Now, Pjanic looks like he's could be the real swap, and they would get Artur in return. But now, in the last couple of days, it looks as though Adrien Rabiot is going to be that potential swap. Again, would he suit Barcelona? Yes. Could you see him at Barcelona? Absolutely. He has got the talent. So would Arsenal, again, if they got him, would he be the sort of perfect player for them? Yes. But again, you know, it's the professionalism we've got to question here. Now, his mother's his agent, and that's quite an interesting thing, because he had been looking after, gone back obviously with all the situation we've had at the moment. And the biggest problem was when he was asked to take a pay cut, as most of Juventus were, most of Serie A were. And what it says here is that there's also an issue where, after he was told that he was going to have to take the pay cut, it claims his mother, Veronique, was unhappy that this 4-month pay cut would have to be happening, and he was potentially going to go on strike over this. That was all over the papers over the last couple of weeks, but it's been very heavily denied by Rabiot on his Instagram. So there you go, that's that. So realistically, let's just talk about him as a player again. For me, if Arsenal do go for him, and I think this is the summary, if you would you get an exceptional player? Yes. Could he potentially be a world-class player? Absolutely. The fact that Juventus took a gamble on him, the fact that Paris Saint-Germain were disappointed to see him go, the fact that Barcelona are looking at him shows you the qualities he's got. However, if we go back through that and we look at Paris Saint-Germain, while they were unhappy about losing a player of that quality, were they unhappy about losing a character like that? No. Juventus, he hasn't really performed, he hasn't proven himself as much as he could do, he's shown flashes. Will Juventus miss him? Potentially, no. So again, I'm sorry I can't give you a bit of a better answer, but you potentially are getting a world-class player, but it depends on how he settles in London, it depends how Arteta uses him, and it just depends on whether this is a guy who's going to fulfil his potential. So, sorry I can't give you any more good news, but that's my take on Adrien Rabiot.
Huge thank you to Rich there for helping us out with today's video. I really genuinely wish that I could look quite as suave as Rich does when he gives us his correspondence on the show. Please do make sure you go and follow him on Twitter. All the links for his site and his Twitter will be in the description below. But it's interesting stuff to learn about sort of the links that this guy gets basically linked to. The likes of Barcelona, of course, moving to Juventus from PSG and now being linked to Arsenal. If there wasn't, I mean, you don't get linked to these types of clubs if there isn't a solid amount of quality in the player. And I think that's certainly something that needs to be taken into account. However, attitude-wise seems to be the biggest question mark. So let me know the thoughts in the comment section below, what you think about what Rich has said. Do you think that swayed your opinion on Rabiot at all? Or do you think still this is not the guy for us? Well, maybe it's going to take the statistics for that to sway you. So let's jump straight into those and start off with our trusty heat map. You can see there that even though we see him as a centre midfielder, it's clear that he is leaning more towards the left-hand side. Now, if you look at Arsenal right now, the position in which he would seemingly fulfil is that pivot role next to Torreira, which is Xhaka's position right now. Now, a lot of people would like to see the back of Xhaka, it's fair to say, and that's fair comment, that's fair reason. A lot of people have the reasons for that, which is fair enough, but I just feel that is Rabiot really the quality player that should be replacing Granit Xhaka? I personally feel that if we're going to go full throttle for someone in midfield, Thomas Partey fulfills that massively. And we've already talked about Thomas Partey. In fact, we've done loads of videos in that area and on some of the players that could be linked, like the Gerson last time. So if you want to go check those out, please make sure you do. But for me, that just shows that he's in a position which is a big plus for Arsenal to obviously fill, but maybe we should be targeting someone differently. Let's look at his statistics though before we make too much of a harsh judgment. As Rich mentioned, no goals or assists so far in the few amount of minutes that he's played for Juventus this season. And when he's taken those shots, which he doesn't do too often, that's not seemingly his style, there's not really a pattern to them. It seems whenever he gets the ball and gets a chance and he sees maybe a sight of goal, he takes it. But ultimately, he's not someone that you see popping up in the forward line, and that's why his attacking stats are so shy. Dribbles, 2.83 with a 69% success rate. Moving into his passing stats, which we'll do in just a second, we might see a reason for why dribbles are so low. Offensive duels, though, he's over 50% in winning those, which is pretty good. And to be fair, nearly 70% of dribbles being successful is pretty good too. 1.3 touches in the penalty area shows that he's not that big guy. He's going to be the one that's in there for the corners, and that's where he's going to get those touches. He's not that progressive. 1.79, speaking of which, progressive ones, and 1.47 fouls being suffered in each game. If we then move on to looking at those passing stats, there we have it. I mean, 49 passes in each game with a 91.3% success rate. This is the area where Rabiot is really going to shine through, the passing side of things. 52% accuracy, with just less than one long pass. He's an intricate player. He's technical. He doesn't play the long pass. He doesn't play the long ball. He wants to keep the play ticking over, get the short plays going, and we'll see that a little bit more in just a second. Through passes aren't part of his game. Crosses aren't either. And he's not someone that actually likes to create from deep. He is significantly someone that just keeps the play ticking over. And for me, that's an issue, because I'd like to see a player that actually has a little bit more about them than just someone that can pass the ball around the middle of the pitch. Passing to the final third, 4.57 with an 89.3 success rate. Whilst that's strong and accurate, I love the fact that it's as accurate as it is. it's just not creative enough. It just isn't enough that makes me want to say, yes, Arsenal should be going full out for this player. And forward to backward pass ratio, you want to see a midfielder, even one playing as deep as he is, having a more positive impact on the game. When you've got 12 backward passes to 9, nearly 10 forward passes, that's definitely not something good that you want to focus on. If we then move on lastly to his defensive statistics, this is an area maybe he can drag himself back into contention. Defensive duels, 7.66, winning 60% of those is good. That's strong. I'd like to see maybe a little bit higher as a deeper player when basically we're looking at him as someone that's not going to be a creative force in the midfield. He's certainly someone who's going to be doing the opposite. So maybe a few more of those being one. Aerial duels, he wins over 50% of those, which is pretty good for a centre midfielder. Loose ball duels, he's only winning 36.9% of those, which isn't too successful. Slide tackles, doesn't do them too regularly, and when he does, it's only 60% of those being one. Good amount of interceptions, nearly at the 4 mark. Would like to see those a bit higher. If you look at Xhaka's, you'd find that it's an interesting comparison. It's worth looking those up. Losses compared to recoveries, he loses the ball more than he recovers the ball, which for a midfielder is disappointing, especially someone that when you look at the fact that he's actually passing-wise very accurate, that tells me the losses are coming from unsuccessful dribbles and being caught in areas which could be quite dangerous. Own half, 40% of the balls that he loses are in his own half, which is very, very concerning. Clearances 0.65, fouls 1.79, which leads to some ill discipline in his game, which leads to a high frequency of yellow and even, in this case, red cards. So there you go. Everything you could possibly want regarding Adrien Rabiot. Please make sure you let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. For me, it's a solid no. I'm not really interested in seeing Adrien Rabiot join the club. If there's a financial side to this where we can get him fairly cheap, maybe that's something that we can look at considering the very special circumstances that we're going to be facing this summer window. But I'm just really not sure where this figures in. The links have come that Arteta's the one that's interested in his profile. I've seen it on the airwaves and heard it from a couple of people, but I just don't really see. Maybe he sees it as a challenge, maybe he sees it as someone that he can try and change and improve, but I just don't think it's worth the time and effort when you can go out and put a right statement down and go and get Thomas Partey. Have I mentioned that I like Thomas Partey? I'm pretty sure I did. But yeah, he's just the obvious candidate for me, and Rabiot just isn't. Massive thanks again to Rich for getting involved with the video and giving us that expert insight. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please, if you have, drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel to get more interesting content like this, and stay safe, stay well, stay healthy. As always, pleasure to talk to any of you guys. So if you want to send over a question on Twitter at Laguna Talk TV, no problem at all. We'll see you again very soon, and as always, up the Arsenal.